And so we're going to get started. He didn't even give me a chance. She didn't give me a chance to even speak. So I was telling some of the people who got here earlier that, thank you, Brandon, tell you some of the people who got here earlier that the majority of the people in AKAS are Indonesian. Then you got the Chinese, you got the Koreans. So I'm not in Asia. And these guys are working hard. These guys are out there, they're traveling all the time. I'm talking about the consultants, right? I'm talking about a young man named Hulk, and there's Loki, and there's all of these guys. We've got Joseph, who does wonderful webinars. He speaks fluent English. And so we've got all these people, and all they do is travel and educate, travel and educate. They take the shit that comes to them as well. And so I don't get that opportunity a lot of time to get up-to-date news. And out of the blue, he called me up and he said, they suggested I give you a call, Queen. And I said, I think that's a wonderful idea. And so we talked at length. And what I'm going to do here tonight, my time, your afternoon, I'm going to actually show you what's going on. We're going to talk a bit about governance. We're going to talk about the voting. We're going to talk about the proposals. We're going to talk about the caps on the flex. We're going to talk about a lot of things. And I want you to pay attention instead of speaking first. I'm going to pause on occasion and ask if there's any questions or you need more clarity on it. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen right now. And let me share my screen, and I'm going to go with my document first of all. Okay, so I've got a document I put together for the last couple of hours as to some of the things we're going to talk about. So I'm going to be discussing all of the updates, all the developments, because I know that with you guys, you don't see what they're doing in Asia. We don't see what they're doing. So I got a whole list of things, the why, the what, the why, and the how. So we're going to get into it. Okay, and I know Cian is watching the waiting room. I'd like to say thank you for that. Okay, so the chat is on as well, but I want you to listen. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is governance. I'm going to talk about the voting. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share my screen, my wallet. And let's see here. Where's my wallet? I use Rabby, as many of you know. So let me share that. Let me go to AKAS. Here we go. Okay. Can you see my AKAS screen, or do you see that document? Anyone?
We see the document.
Okay, let me stop that share. Share again. Okay, here we go. Okay, great. So now you see AKAS. Okay, I'm using the desktop. Great. So I'm already connected. And so what you'll see at the top here, okay, I'm going to talk about the governance. Okay, first of all, a DAO is a decentralized or autonomous organization. It's the community. It's you and I, right? We make the decisions here. They put things up to vote, right? We're the ones that go through governance. We vote yes or no. Okay, so I'm going to click on more, and I'm going to click on governance. And as you probably see here, there are no active proposals. All proposals that were proposed, and they are already active. Some of them have already been implemented. We're going to start at the bottom here. The first proposal that was open, okay, and everybody is able to vote, but I can't show you because there's none open. All of the proposals have been approved. The ayes won out. The first one was the Treasury Contract. Make it open source. And it was funny to me because for about 2 months, I told him, I need to see the Treasury Contract open. I need to see the Treasury Contract open. And then when I saw it here, I went back to him. You didn't need to have a proposal on it. I think everybody will say yes. But unfortunately, 2 said no. I don't know if they don't know how to vote or whatever. And when you click on view details, all we see is the value of opening the Treasury contract. They give you details about it, the reasons why they're doing it, transparency and trust, foundation of governance, which it is, et cetera, and what the expected outcomes are. Okay, we know it's transparency, sustainability, strengthen the community, give us more confidence, and provide a base for all future DAO decisions. So that's number one, and that passed with flying colors. Now, let's go to the bottom here. The second one was a proposal to activate the RBS Smart Price Control Contract, because initially the CD06 wallet or contract was the one that was doing all of the controlling. If you look on chain, you'll see a lot of transactions by CD06, and many people, unfortunately, read those transactions in the incorrect way. But I'm not going to go through that tonight. And so when we take a look at the details, okay, so what is this contract? And I think I mentioned some of this in our group, some of the things, and I worked out some things with the consultants on how they can actually better fine tune this. So number one, there will be minting limits. Because if you take a look, we have people saying CD06 is minting, they're minting like crazy. No, they weren't. Everything is unchained. So now they can only mint a maximum of 70,000 AS up to 100,000 DAI for market cap stabilization. That's what RBS does. I get this question a lot that, hey, if indeed RBS role is to control the price within a range, then why did the price go all the way down, right? From what we were around $26, it went to 19, it went to 17, and where we are today, which is approximately 5. And one of the things about RBS, and this is with Olympus DAO, this is with Origin, LGNS, this is with any Olympus DAO type project, even with the United States dollar and the United States economic system. The system that stabilizes the price doesn't sit around and get triggered every time the price goes down. It's kind of like standing around trying to catch falling knives from the sky. Because if that was indeed the case, what will happen? Because the Treasury, as well as the liquidity pool, plays big roles. And if every time the price falls, they go and save us from ourselves, that's what happened, and I'll talk about that, save us from ourselves, there would be no more liquidity. There would be nothing else in the Treasury reserve, okay? Right now, we're sitting pretty, and we're not where we were, but I believe we're at 28 million. I'll show you that in our liquidity, you know? So now there are going to be these limits, okay? And it can only be triggered when the remaining AS in the contract falls below 10% of a set pre-specified threshold. And the reason why they're not going to tell us what this set threshold is, because I talked to them about this, is because I can say, oh, I know the threshold and I know how much they're going to mint. So therefore, on the market, I can buy, I can actually arbitrage, and I can F them up. So they can't tell you all of the details, right? And they're going to restrict the functions to buying AS, selling AS, that's the buy and burn, selling it when the price is high, buying when the price is going low, not all of the time, adding liquidity to the liquidity pool, and burning liquidity pool tokens, okay? Then they've got the transfer restrictions that'll be there. I'm under the impression, yes, they have already implemented this already. And I think it was yesterday or today. So we've got DAI and AS going to be held in the RBS contract. Nobody can transfer out of it. It cannot be transferred out, which ensures that all of the funds remain dedicated solely to the market stabilization and cannot be misappropriated. And so this is also going to help and tie in with what they're doing. We're working with Certec in order for us to get a better score in the token security or token scan. I'll share that with you as well. And so we know that the significance is by activating this new improved mini, I call it RBS contract, now they're going to have more price control minting, but don't expect every time we get the people who are extractors, and I don't say that in a negative way, because when I invest, I have the right to extract whenever I get ready to, right? People are going to be people, and which is what happened. A lot of the Asian people And I knew the strategy. So what they were doing is they were buying bonds 30, 60 days, mostly, some 90. Follow me on this. You buy the bonds, you get up to a 25%, I believe, or 35% discount on AS. Wow. And then they would take their bonds and throw it into flexible staking. Flexible staking, there's no time limit, right? Flexible staking, you can wake up in 2 days and you can say, hey, I'm pulling out all of my rebates and I'm going to pull out all of my capital, right? And then they do this cycle over and over again. They did that for 3 months. Then they say, yes. And these guys were throwing in $100,000, right? $500,000, $30,000. We're talking big money. And so when you're getting the discount on AS, and their discounts were pretty high, quite frankly. With the other deal that we're all in, the discounts aren't that high. I think they built it in for a reason because they know their Asian counterparts, right? And so that's what we've got going on here. They did a massive sellout, which is fine, right? And remember that the floor for Olympus DAO, for Origin, for AKAS, for ARC, for WebKey, and many of the other Olympus DAO type projects, the floor is $1. The floor is $1. So because it's very, very dynamic, but the bottom line is $1. Okay. But we tried to keep it within the range, but that range that we show in our presentation is a moving range. Okay. So it's a moving range, and now we're at 5. Now we're at $5. So let me continue. So that's already done. That's now been implemented. Some of the people were saying, we don't know what they're doing. We think they're running away with the money. I said, I'd like to see them try. They can't run away with the money. They have no extra tokens, right? Remember, we had a fair launch. The liquidity is locked. About 100% liquidity is locked, right? Can't run away with anything. And so that's why I'm here, to try to explain to you the mechanisms and the protection and the safety and security that we have here. But I also want to tell you about some other things. So let me go back. So we talked about the RBS proposal, and that was very, very key, very, very, very key. Now let's talk about very briefly the on-chain automatic asset retrieval. And I know many of you were in the group, and I say, I really don't care about that, so I won't address it, right? But I'm going to tell you about it because it may be relevant to many of you. What, if you didn't know, what they built months ago, they built a mechanism that if indeed the AKAS DAO, DAP, if the interface disappeared off the face of the earth, you can go where? You can go to Polygon Scan and execute commands, right? And stake and withdraw and get your rebates and do exactly the same thing without the front end. But they discovered that it was a little techie. It was very, very techy. And so just for the flexible staking, they came up with a way that you and I, let's say we don't want to log into the DApp or connect to the DApp, we'll do that on Polygon Scan. If you have flexible stakes, you got flexible stakes, and they've been there for more than 24 hours, because remember, they've got a 24-hour cool-off period when you buy flexible stakes, right? You can just go over to polygonscan.com. As a matter of fact, you can just send 0.01 POL to a contract address. I've got that contract address. That is the flexible staking contract address. And it will automatically pull out all of your rebates you've earned in the flexible staking and all of your capital and put it in your wallet. That's what this is. Okay. So that's what that is. So those people who are crying about, what if they go down? We don't even need this interface. It reminds me of a project called Hex and Pulse Chain, where, so many developers have built front ends. So nobody could bring that baby down. You bring down one front end, John, the developer, Judy, the developer, all of us, we've got these front ends. As a matter of fact, we run our code on our computer for Pulse Chain and for Hex. Yeah, for those who know a little bit about technology or those who are willing to learn. So not even the government could have taken that down. Oh yeah, Richard Hart actually was the first person that won the SEC civil case in the crypto space without settling. His case was dismissed. That was wonderful. And so let's go back and let's see the other proposals. Boom, 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 boom. Quadruple reward and quota enhancement mechanism. Oh, yeah, I'm already connected. Yes. Let me go to, well, we'll stay here for a minute. So we've got the quadruple reward and quota enhancement mechanism. Let's view the details of that. There were 5,167 AS used for voting. When you're voting, you can vote with 1 AS or you can vote with 1,000,000 AS. There's no limits. And one of the things that I've discovered is, for those of you who are voting and utilizing AS, this is the part I don't like, because it's like the rich people have a higher probability of winning a proposal. Because if you just put in 2 AS and say no, and I put in 500 AS and say, yay, I won. But that's a whole nother story. Yeah, it's kind of like how the world works anyway. But I know some DAOs out there where they don't care how much money you have, everybody's on equal footing. Okay. I know MakerDAO, who created the DAI token, they actually have they have a formula around the voting to make sure that it's relatively fair. So it succeeded, it passed, and it met the conditions of 5,000 AS was the conditions. Once 5,000 AS in votes came in, it closed. Okay, and you'll see all of the people, all of the wallets that voted here. So you'll be able to vote. And after the vote, you get your AS back. But there's this one thing I didn't know, that AS that you vote with is earning rebates. So you get your AS back and you get the rebates back. Okay, how that process works, I'm not quite sure on whether it's going to go through Turbine or whatever, or whether it's just going to go straight to your wallet. I'm more prone to believe it's going to go straight to your wallet. So let's talk about what this quadruple reward is. For you who are networkers, remember we have a 6x quota. So if you come in with $1,000, you're building, you're jamming, right? And once you make $6,000 US dollars in AS, you no longer will earn from your team, correct? Unless you top up and buy more stakes. So you could say, well, I got 1,000, I got $500 extra in my pocket. I'll put $500 stake in, right? You don't have to put the 1,000. You can put 500. And then 500 times 6 is what? 3,000. Once you get to 3,000 earnings on your network, then you're going to have to top up again. They didn't do away with that, because I had trouble understanding. I said, is this in lieu of that or this in addition? They didn't get rid of that, but they want to further reward those people who are active participants and loyal, if you will, to the DAO. And so here's what they did. Once you are ranked, it doesn't matter your rank. Once you are ranked, you can do this. Now that you're a V1 through a V12 or whatever it is we have, you can make a donation of AS tokens. And I'm not going to talk about the super node. You have to be a V2 to be able to buy a super node. But let's just talk about donation. And I'm like, donation? Not going to donate anything to anywhere. You know, I already have my charities of choice for the year. But here's how it works. There's a 1-to-4 ratio. So if you donate 1 AS to the DAO, then your reward quota, I talked about that 6x, right? And let's say you're exhausting it, it's almost exhaust. Your reward quota is going to increase by 4x. So here's an example. You donate 100 AS to the DAO, to the community. The reward quota is going to increase by 400 AS. You follow me? So if indeed you don't want to get another stake, you can at least say, I'm going to put 100 or 1,000 AS, and your reward quota is going to increase by 4,000 AS. Anybody have any questions about that? You follow me? Unmute. Let me take a look at chat. Okay, here's this. Yeah, let's see chat. Okay, almost like music sharing. LimeWire now, so can't stop it. We are not seeing. That must be old because everyone else sees it. Okay, hi Vern, rock and roll. So that's how that's going to work. So let's say, for example, my quota is 10,000 and I've made 10,000 AS, for example. If I've already made 10,000 AS, I would no longer earn on my team. But I want to be able, because if I make, 10,000, but I want to continue to earn on my team. I like to earn on my work, on my leverage, right? And so I have to make a decision. Will I buy another stake and earn rebates, or will I donate? But if I'm looking at the donation part, I says, well, I can just put in, 500 AS. 500 times 4 is 2,000. Automatically, I'm able to earn 2,000 more before they say you can't earn anything else. And I hope you understand that. Then there's a super node. You have to be a V2. And I'll get into details in another webinar on that. Okay. So what are they going to do with the donated tokens? And that was my main question. What they want to do is, now this is funny. When I read this, it says strengthen the RW tokens market liquidity. And I went back, I said, RW, what the heck are they talking about? We're AS. And so they're used to me. So I go into our little special group. I said, what did you guys do? You cut and paste this or what? You forgot to change RW to AS. And they laughed at me. That's when I'm going to talk a little bit about the RWA token that we do indeed have. I'm going to talk about that too tonight. So it's going to strengthen that liquidity for that market. In addition, they're going to be supporting the ecosystem sustainable growth, governance incentive, giving us incentive. Remember, you get rebates when you're voting, and reinforcing the overall community consensus and long-term value. I have no problem with that at all, but you don't have to do this. You can just buy another stake if you like to, and then you'll get 5x, 6x more on that. So the objective, again, is to ensure that leaders or people who are really want this baby to work, who are really involved in the community, who care about it, can contribute more to the ecosystem, can unlock greater potential rewards, creating a positive feedback loop. The more you contribute, the more you earn. So that's what that is. And that one passed, hands down, no no's, all yeses. Now, let's talk about the adjustment to the bond and staking products, new addition and quota limits. I think I was asked by Carl. Carl's raising his hand. Okay. Carl, I think you don't have to raise your hand. I think you can just unmute. Try that. Let me know.
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt you, but you're going to get into that right now because I thought I missed it or something, but it looks like you're going to talk about that right now, right?
Yes, I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
And then I'm
Thank
going to
you.
go directly into the back office so we can see where that is and how it works. So let's talk
Okay,
about the
because I'm
quota.
really confused on that.
Yeah. Now, remember I was talking about just now about how all of these rich people who got in the beginning, right? And they bought into all of these bonds, 30, 60, 90, because you notice that they weren't buying the 180 and 360. Normal people like us were. But those bonds, because they got that huge discount, they were buying 30, 60, 90. Then they would take that because they got a discount on the AS, and they would take that and put it in flexible staking. And flexible staking is wide open, no limits. You can get in and out whenever you want to. They kept going in and out, boom, bond, in and out, boom, flex stake, in and out. And that was a snowball. I know that at one time, I'm not in Origin, but I was told that Origin decided to just do away with the flexible staking. People who were already in it was cool, but they decided to do away with it because, of course, people were gaming it then.
Not the flexible. They got rid of the long term.
Oh, they got rid of the long term.
Yeah.
That's
The
strange.
flex is there. The long term is what they got rid of, which was kind of unfortunate. But
Yeah, that's weird. I would have think it would have been the other way around because the flexible
it's
staking.
great for double dipping. You go into the bonds and then you go into the staking, right? But
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. It was there, then it was gone, and it's never come back.
Oh, wow. I thought it was flexible staking, which would make sense because that's where the games are played. And so we've got the quota limits on the short-term products. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to staking and I'm going to click on flexible. Okay. I'm going to click on flexible. I'm going to say, okay, all right. I can buy some flexible stakings. You see this cap reached? There is a quota of how much AS can be purchased in the flexible staking bucket. I asked the question, could you guys give us an idea of what that cap is? And so they're supposed to get back with me. But I believe that if I look at the code, I can find it. I believe so, but I'll take a look at that. And the reason why they're doing this, to eliminate the rich people getting there, and they're doing all this cyclical stuff, and they're just trashing the heck out of flex staking and the bonds. So there is a cap on it.
Long term is the same thing.
Huh?
Cap reached on long term as well. I've got it in both of mine.
Oh, it's in the long term. Oh my God.
Yes, it is. Everything is locked down.
Wow. Let me see. Let me see. I just thought it was flexible staking, but I'll take a look at that. And the reason, again, is this cap reached. Now that makes a lot of sense to me. Now let me go to long-term staking. Let's go to discounts long-term staking. Okay. Let's see, it's coming back up. Okay, great. So boom, 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 boom. Let's
Just click on them. Just click on them. They say cap reached.
Okay. 360 days. It must be for the 30, 60, 90. Let's take a look.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I never checked. I never clicked on the last one. Click the other ones.
Yeah, because I always do 180 and 360. So they're trying to stop the short-term speculators. That's what it looks like. Watch 90 days. It's going to be a cap. Yep. 90 days, cap reach. 30 days, cap reach. 30 days, cap reach.
So they want all long-term stuff going to build, I guess, strength, right?
Yeah. To stop the extractors, to stop the short-term thinkers and all of that. And quite frankly, I don't mind it at all. I know we may have various views. I know people may vary here and there. Let me take a look at the chat. What do you guys think about this?
No, it's all about delaying. Delay the payment. It's better for everybody.
Huh? The long term is. The flex, I don't understand why they did that.
The flex.
I mean, who wants to put 3 AKAS into long-term staking? The whole purpose of the flex was for you to be able to take your earnings, no matter how small they are, throw it into flex.
Yes.
And that's what I do. And then I only put big amounts into long-term because it makes no sense to put $18 into a long-term flex.
Yes.
Right? Or a long-term hold.
But you know, again, what a lot of rich people were doing, they were capitalizing on that very fact. Yours makes sense, but all of the guys who extracted and drove that price down, they were rich guys. They got in early too. They had nodes from Asia, and they were going to get those bonds, short-term 30, 60 days bonds, get that extra discount, drive that baby over into the flexi staking, let it stay there 10 to 30 days. Wow, that's a lot of increase. Come back, go back into the bonds. But they didn't do that. They couldn't do that with the long-term staking, because long-term staking, what do you get? Rebates.
Yeah. The smartest thing that was done was when we saw ARC. When ARC came in, they had the high percentage. If you want to take it out short-term, they penalized you. And if this contract and even LGNS had that, you wouldn't see people doing exactly that today. But this is why I understand why they did that. Yeah. This is why ARC is like a really good, powerful one. Like all three of them are good. They're good and they're all in their different ways. Yeah. It's just, you're right here. I think the wealthy took advantage of this one.
Yes.
At the high percentage that the coin was, and they just killed it.
They did indeed. And I see a question by Judy. I don't get why they want us to put more locked in with the price falling. They don't care if you put more in. That's what DeFi is about. It's about choices, right? It's about choices. So here's a good example. When I bought a token called Hex, January 2021, wasn't worth nothing. I staked all of it. I spent $14,000 to $20,000. I forgot I had it because it had a special wallet. I think the wallet was called Staker app or something like that. So I go on occasion, I go through all of my systems and say, what's in this one? What's in this wallet? I got a lot of wallets. And I found 13 months later that $20,000 turned into $1 million. Right? And sometimes I think that we're too short-term thinking. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, and these aren't DeFi systems, look at Bitcoin, look at Ethereum. Ethereum for the last 3 years sucked big time. And I even heard some of the guys who were so gung-ho about Ethereum, these guys, I'm not going to call their names, these influencers all in YouTube with millions of people following them, and they were crying about Ethereum. And I was laughing at them because they used to laugh at everybody else who were crying about their crypto. So I was laughing at them. And they were selling their Ethereum because it had gotten up to $4,000 or $6,000. 3 years, $1,500, $2,000, blah, blah, blah. I didn't sell mine. It's like I'm in it to win it, right? And now look at it. And so it goes up to 4,000. Every time it goes up to 4,000, now we got the wealthy, we got the real wealthy in the financial institutions and the governments. And so what we're seeing now, every time it get up, it was like every time it got up to 4,000 or 3,999, they push it down. 3,999, push it down. I said, yep, that's manipulation, but that's all right. That's what the markets do. And then now we're getting closer. And, we had a bad day 2 days ago. It wasn't bad to me because I was laughing because people look at one day, just like the guy who killed himself because of the market crash 2 nights ago, right? 2 days ago. That was very, very unfortunate. He had a fund, and I think it was about 50 to 65 million he lost if he would have waited. But I think he probably sold the leverage, but that's a whole nother story. So one of the things is you don't have to buy. DCA. What is DCA? Dollar cost average. So if I buy a token at $20 and it goes down to 10, and this is what I was doing, and I told you guys what I was doing in our group. So it goes down to 10. I dollar cost average again into the bonds. Okay, it went down to 9. I dollar cost average again because I'm getting a discount. And I dollar cost average, not on 30 days, not on 60 days. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm telling you what I did. So I dollar cost average. I always DCA in because that $20 that I bought it at, and when you average my 20s and my 10s and my 5s, etc., I didn't pay $20 per token, right? When you average it out.
What I mean by an oversight is that they didn't put a tax on withdrawals because that would have slowed a lot of stuff.
It
right?
would have, and you're right.
If they had that, you wouldn't have seen that happen. That's what I meant by the oversight. They just didn't look at it in that aspect. And if they did, I think that's what they did in ARC. They looked at what happened with LGNS, what's happening here, and they go, we're not going to let that happen here. And that's why the guys that created the LGNS and that consulted on there, and they're seeing things, and that these contracts are improving as they're launching, right? And you're going to see better improvements that are going out. And ARC so far it has done a good job in that aspect. For the withdrawals.
And you know why? Because if ARC is working with one of the visionaries, if you will, he was supposedly with the original DAO, then he's providing insight. And one of the things I did ask AKAS, because I thought that, and I was wrong, and you just proved me wrong, I thought that the flexible staking was eliminated for new people in LGNS, in Origin LGNS. And that's when I went back to AKAS, and I says, why do you have flexible staking if they found it problematic? We need to improve upon what their experiences, and that's what I was saying. But you're telling me they did it for the long-term staking. But
and you know what? It's very important that you have flex staking because it's not just for the big elites that are out there, but it's for the little guy that may need to pull funds. If it's locked in long-term, what they do is they damage the long-term outcome of there because they keep rebooting it, right? So you have to have the flex. That's 100% needed in there. It's just I think where the fix was put in was in ARC with the actual taxation coming out. If they all had that, we'd still see a cost back up at $25, $30, $40. Right? We'd see LGNS at $50, $60.
I think we'll probably see it around $20 because here's why. there was, again, no tax for what they were doing. They were willing to take the 15% hit, right? They were willing to take the 15%, but they made considerably more than that. So they weren't going 30 days, I'm going to wait for my money and so I can pay a 1% tax. They didn't care about that. They said, we're going to go on, we're going to draw everything out, we're going to take the 15% hit, then we're coming back in. We already got the discount on the AKAS. We already got the flexible staking. And maybe you're right that the penalty should have been at the flexible staking level.
Yeah. Well, even like what they're trying to do now, you know, this is one way that's going to fix it. It's just pissing off everybody now because now they have to readjust, right? But if you're just sitting there and you hold, it's all going to work out in your favor no matter what.
Yes.
It's just people are, they have that instant gratification in their head that they got to have it now. They're worried that things are going to get, you know, taken away. The thing that people have to understand, when you have a contract that's renounced, nobody can take the money. The contract is your bank, your own personal piggy bank. You want it, you can take it.
Yes.
Nobody else can go in there and take that money.
Yes.
So if you, because of the compounding that they have, the longer you wait and hold, the more profit you're going to have in the end. Yes. That's why long-term staking is very good. And with here, they have the additional bonus money that comes with it too, that you don't see in any of the other contracts.
Yes.
So it's a matter of patience.
It really is
contract system, and most people today just don't have it, Faith. We know that.
Don't.
They don't have the patience.
See, that's the difference here. You know, we all have different perspectives. Some of the folks in the chat are just saying, "Oh my God, you know, the price is down to $5." Me, my perspective is different, so I can't say theirs wrong. I can't say Judy is wrong. But also my perspective is always 360, 180, 360 days. So the things that you're saying is actually enlightening me because I didn't care less about flexible staking. I used to tell people, I don't even know why it's there. And this is because of my mentality.
It's actually very, very important. I mean, I've been in Origin now for, you know, over 10 months.
Yes.
And the flexible staking, we only had a little bit of long-term at the very beginning for about a month and a half.
Yeah.
And then it all went to flex. But I use what I call the double dip. Listen, if you want to really take advantage of it, you do what you were saying, bond it, take it out, throw it into flex staking, and there you got your double whammy. But you still have to have the patience because flex staking will only really start to churn about its 4th month.
Yes.
In there. You can't dip into it. Right? It's like a 30-day or a 90-day long-term in flex. And after that, that's when the compounding really takes effect.
And you know, that's when the price started going down. That's when the extraction started. Because we started June 20th, July, August, September 20th. Right? We're at the 3-month mark. And then
it's going to start to kick in this month for a lot of people.
And that's exactly what happened with AKAS. That's exactly what happened with AKAS. At that point, that's when the big boys and girls did it. But you know what, Carl? Let's take this offline. I don't think this is like the end all. If we can actually get together and come up with a proposal. But I don't want to do a proposal because we're from the West and not a lot of people know us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Asians that has a lot to say because there's more of them here. And then
they do it differently. Right? They do everything differently there. They did it with Olympus differently. They do it with, you know, LGNS differently. They've come into this one here. They're into ARC because literally it was exposed to them first.
Yeah.
So they got the indoor first on everything. But, you know, like I said, I've been in LGNS for 10 months. I learned a lot. Like I know these things inside and out, the way they operate.
You do. I know. You know what I like to do with you, though? I like to, on the side, talk with you about this. And if you think of ways that we can improve it so all of the concerns and issues on both and all 3 sides are being addressed, then I can take that back to the AKAS consultants and say, why don't you issue this proposal with changes, and we'll go back and forth on it and get them to issue another proposal about how they're going to do the cap, all of these type of things. Why don't we do this? And the reason why we think it's important is because of A, B, C, D, E. right?
But they have to make it simple and easy for us.
Yeah.
Okay. The average person in here, you and I are a little above average in here. Okay. I'm talking about the beginners to the intermediates. This is what this should be built for.
They don't even consider that. I'm not lying.
No, but they
them,
should be,
they
because these are the ones,
big boys,
this
the big
is the
boys
majority of their database.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll tap you in Telegram, and we could start talking about what
Sure.
would be in addition to what they have already.
Yep.
What we can do to take in consideration the average people and people who want to whatever. We can talk about that offline.
Those are the people.
You're making some salient
You
points.
and I can make all kinds of money in here because of our backgrounds on how we build teams. But it's got to be around those people who are timid about it. They've had so many bad experiences. You know, they want to try this on their own. AKAS is like the best one for that.
Yes.
But you know, they have to make it for the average person.
Yes.
Not for the network marketer, not for the big bucks pockets out there, but for the average marketer.
Yeah, and
that's what I believe
right.
the rebase contracts are actually designed for.
Yeah, that's me. But you know where they're going now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Because let me get back into the subject. Talk a little bit about that. But they're really looking at the DeFi guys now. They're looking at the crypto guys, the crypto Twitter folks I hang out with all the time in Twitter. Those are the kind of guys they're looking at. But still in all, even in crypto Twitter, you know, we talk about with Hex, a lot of guys, I'm telling you, man, it's like a nightmare. These guys are so negative. I have to stay away from crypto Twitter because these are the average people who are like, I've been waiting 2 years, you know, and they're screaming and they're salivating. They're doing all of these things. I understand, but I just can't help. So we can talk about that. And you know what? I think I know what you're talking about. So I'm going to talk to Joseph. I'm going to talk to him later on, probably tomorrow. It is about 9 p.m. here. So I'll talk to him about, you know, considering the average people and stop looking at the rich people all the time.
They got to stop doing that. I mean, it's 90 to 95% of our database are all just average people that maybe will share this with 4 or 5 people. That's the average.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I have to run because I got another Zoom to get to, but let's connect later, Faith.
Yeah,
okay?
Let's do that. Let's do that and come up with something. I'm glad you spoke
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. And I'm glad you spoke up because you've got the experience. This is my first Olympus DAO type project. I've been in DeFi, but this is my first Olympus DAO type project. And you're making a good point because you actually opened up my eyes because I'm kind of like, what is wrong with people? You know, just freaking, you know, put it in for 180, 360 days and go have some bonbons. Which is kind of selfish in a way, right? Because everyone isn't like each other. But thank you very much. So somebody, oh God. Okay. Where are we? Lessons learned, I guess. Okay. Hex and post, that's a cost. Okay. I don't get why they want us to put more. You don't have to put anything in, Judy. You can just sit there. Okay. And why Rug didn't come up with this. That's the same person who's crazy. Did they make a mistake by allowing the elite? Yeah, I already read that. We addressed that. Okay, lessons learned. Okay, great. Okay. Marcus, LGNS is responsive. He advises stakers who are AKAS devs. What are their WhatsApp contacts? Oh, that's you again. I'm not talking to you, dude. We have the link of the special group. No, you can't have the link of no special group. I don't even want you around me, quite frankly, but you can stay here and keep talking. A hater's gonna hate, right? See it? But okay, so let me continue on. I just want to read any of his stuff. So that's where we are with the staking period. So they've got a cap. I don't know what the cap is. I don't know the formula for the cap. I should be getting that soon. But I'm also going to be talking to them about, hey, what about the little guys? You know, what about the guys who are average, who are just trying to, you know, make ends meet, or maybe trying to build up a future slowly, but needing some now money. And by now money, I don't mean 2 days or a week. You know, if you're looking to make a lot of money in 2 days or a week or a month, you'll never be successful because there's no investment that's going to give you life-changing money in the month, But for those who say 4 months, okay, I want to be able to take 50% out, and do some normal things. Yeah, yep. Okay, so let me go, let me go back to governance, more governance. Okay. So I talked about everything in governance. Okay, so I talked about everything there. And so more and more, you all can also, since you are the DAO, you can put in your own proposal. But in order for people to actually read it and consider it, it's got to be well thought out. Provide details. Don't just come in and say, I got a proposal. Do this. No, think it out. Talk to some people. Get together with a group of people. Let's fine tune that proposal. Let's make it, make it a way that people say, yes, this sounds good, or it's a great idea, but I'm not going to vote for it, but I know how I can expand upon it, so we can have some real conversations going on. Okay, so that's that. What also came up, they've been doing a lot of marketing around RWA Mutual Foundation, strategic partnership, and I've been seeing that all over Twitter. I've been seeing it all in all of the groups, all of the language groups, and I don't even know what it means. All I know RWA is real world assets, and the world is going towards real world assets where you have diamonds on the blockchain, right? Where you can have food on the blockchain so you can trace where it comes from the ground to the table, right? People are talking about vehicles and real estate on the blockchain. That's real world assets, fractionalized real estate. You can put $500, you can buy a piece of real estate, right? You can put in $10,000, whatever you want to, and you can get a piece of that. So I know what RWA is, but from the advertising and the marketing, I didn't know what impact it has on us. And that's where I had the problem. So I'm in the group and I had a young man, and he started talking about RDA Mutual Foundation again. And I said, I can't talk about that right now. I know nothing about it, but all I can say is don't trust, verify. And I said, is it on the blockchain? And he's like, well, I don't know. I said, well, when I find out, then we'll talk about it, right? And that's with anything. That's just where my head is these days. Now, let me go to the back office here. Okay, you guys see me. We're going to go to more, and it's under airdrop. Who'd have thunk? But it's under airdrop. And so I read it, and I want you guys to pay attention. So real world, RW, what's their name? The mutual fund guys. They're the first multidimensional RWA ecosystem development token that's going to be, RW is the name of the token, co-issued by Jefferson RWA Mutual and AKAS DAO. And I'm like, okay, why? Okay, it aims to drive deep integration, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's talk about some English. Okay, so I click on incentive mechanism. So here's how it works. 180-day long-term staking or bond purchase, you're going to get an extra 0.05% airdrop reward, airdrop of RW tokens. 360 days, you're going to get an extra 0.12% airdrop reward. And my first reaction when I saw this, I'm like, that's teeny tiny, right? That's teeny tiny. And so this guy in our group last night, now I don't know what time it was in the morning, midnight or something like that. And I'm chillaxing watching some old boxing shows with Sugar Ray Leonard and, all of these guys from back in the day on my big screen TV looking at YouTube. And I told him he owes me money for making me spend a half hour doing research on this. So I did find a contract address and I made a joke, the token address for RW. I made a joke and said, I'm getting ready to go buy half of them because there's only 2.1 million RW tokens, not 21, 2.1 million. Now, can anyone tell me what it means if you have a low total supply that cannot be increased for a token? What does that mean to you? Can anybody chat or anybody want to open up and talk about it? What do you think that means when there's let's say, what do you think that means there's only 2 tokens? Let's say you have a token and there's only 2.
It's very valuable.
Limited supply, and therefore the price has got to go up.
There you go. There you go. And so when I saw that, I said, oh, okay. Okay, but you've got to be willing to hold. And the whole thing is, the mechanism is this. So here we go again, Queen on her long-term investment trip, right? The whole thing is you got to have a 180-day or 360-day long-term staking or bond in order to get these goodies. And I know they're doing it to get us to hold on to AS. They're saying, hold on, don't just look at the $5 that we're at now. And I told many of you guys in the group that I can envision it going down to $3. And this is what I told people, man, I tell you, some people inbox me privately. Oh, no. I said, if it does, can you imagine, we're only what, 3 months old, something like that, almost 4 months here. We've just begun. We haven't even started talking about utility. Now that we've got this integration coming in, right, with Jefferson RWA Mutual, but I do know that people don't like that price because it's just how people are. It's a reaction when they buy something. You buy a car off the car lot and you spent $30,000 for it. I don't know if there's any cars cost $30,000, but bear with me. You spent $30,000 for the car, and then you drive it off, right? And then a month later, you see it being sold for $15,000. I can understand that, but this isn't the same. A car, if it's depreciating, it's a liability. But when you're talking something that has the potential, we have to change our mindset and be a little more visionary and talk about the potential, because I told everyone that I was pulling my rebates, but I won't touch my capital. I don't care where the price goes. I said, I can pull some of my rebates. But could you imagine if you pull all of your rebates in your capital and you came in at $28 and it's $5? You put in $280 and you say, I'm going to pull out $50, buy. I don't know. I don't know about that. So this is what they're doing. So this is what that partnership is about. Let's talk about the trading mechanism. Okay. They're going to launch it on QuickSwap. As a matter of fact, it's already there. I looked, and I tried to buy $1 million. I was joking, but I just wanted to see if they were tight, because there are some folks that says that you can't buy. So I go over there. I say, I'm going to buy 1 million of these tokens and there'll only be 1 million left, right? No, you cannot buy. You cannot buy. The only way you can get RW tokens is if on October 1st, I think it's effective October 1st. Hold on. Let me go to my notes. I think it's effective October 1st. RWA, 2.1 million tokens only. Okay, they're gonna have an AKAS, RW paired. Remember I talked to you about liquidity pairs. Got to be paired with something. Right now we have AS paired with DAI, right? We have that. You can have AS paired with whatever, but a criteria was they said, hey, RW, we need you to pair it with AS, okay, which would be advantageous for AKAS and us as the DAO, okay? Not ASDAI, they're not going to be working with that. RW won't be working with that, but AS, RW, liquidity pair. And why? It's going to ensure that RWA Mutual provides a utility. Now we're talking about utility, which is going to incentivize you and I to hold AS, because you got to have 180 days or 360 days in order to get the RW tokens. I want some RW tokens, okay? You may not. You may just want to just focus on AS, and you may not even want to even hear about it, but I'm going to tell you about it because this is what we're here for. And there's also the potential for them to promote AKAS to their community. And they're not like a network marketing community. I mean, crypto community, regular stuff, right? Not everybody like network marketing or affiliate marketing. But if you go into crypto Twitter and you keep seeing the same old token, everybody pushing, you're going to look underneath the hood. You're going to say, hey, maybe I should get some of that, right? Nobody's getting any commissions or anything, but you want to increase the size of the community, which has a positive impact on the price in the long run, okay? And so this in turn is going to bring more exposure to AKAS in the crypto space, okay? Because I'm going to start doing a lot more in the crypto space, crypto Twitter. I hang out there a lot. I'm going to start doing a lot more AKAS noise, right? And again, you can't get any RW token airdrops unless you purchase new AS stakes or bonds of 180 and or 360 days effective October 1st. And you can't buy them off the market, so you'll just be out of luck, okay? So you'll be able to earn if you meet that criteria, and you will be able to sell the RW. You just can't buy it. Okay, so I'm
Are nodes affected in any way, Faith?
Huh?
Are nodes being affected in any way? Nodes? The
Are they
nodes?
being affected? No, they're not being affected. You got your nodes there. That our nodes are 360 days. No.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
No.
Thank you.
Oh, you came in late too. Yeah, I had a lot to say, but this is being recorded. Okay. So another thing is like with Certic, their Certic token, right, score is increasing. But I don't look at the Certic score. I look at the Certic token scanner because that has a huge impact or tell me a story about security. And I think we're like 69 or something like that. So they're doing a lot of back and forth. I'm going to show you. They're doing a lot of back and forth with Certic, and they haven't stopped, so they need to improve, and they are improving, but in terms of the public face, the optics, they need to improve. So let me go here, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Let's go to Certic. Okay. So I'm at Certic. Can you see me? Okay. I'm at Certic. You notice that their score is improving overall, and it's all based on code security, market governance, fundamentals, community, as well as operational. But I like to see, let's go down here. I like to see, oh, did I miss it? Did I miss it? Code audit, his token scan. So when you go to token scan, this to me is the most important part, this header here, token scan. We're at 65.71. I want to see that higher. I know the code. I know the reason behind some of the things that are going on. I know that, but people don't care. It's all about optics. So they're going to have to make this look better. They're going to have to make it look better. So we've got two strikes in terms of centralization. And that is mintable and has hidden owner. Those are the major ones. And so we've talked about the has hidden owner. And I know that, well, I'm going to show you their dialogue that they've been having, this talk they've been having with Certic. And it is mintable. All Olympus DAO tokens are indeed mintable, right? But that's not what this means. That's not what this means. What it means is we can't tell. You're not transparent enough so we can tell that it's clean or secure enough, okay? So I'm going to show you, if you go, you can't do this on your mobile phone. So you've got to do this to get that PDF on your, get that PDF. Where is it? Where's the PDF? Oh, here it is. Oh, here it is. View PDF under third-party audit history. Okay. Oh, they've been audited with Armors as well. So they do have a third party who audit them as well. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the PDF for PDF. Oh, here it is. Code security. So when I go there, I'm doing a little teaching here so you guys know how to find stuff. Go there. Okay. It's coming up. Okay. And sometimes you have some findings that are trivial, that don't mean anything, has nothing to do with security. Sometimes you have findings that are indeed critical. Sometimes you have them which are medium. Let this load up. Yeah. Load. Meanwhile, I'll go to the chat. Can we have the developers on the Zoom rather than hire influencers to mislead us? There's no influencers. So what are you talking about? I bet you this is that same person. Yep, it is. Okay, ignoring you. Let let's see, as a matter of fact, let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's still loading. I think the reason why is because Zoom takes up a lot of my memory. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So this is how it goes. They have these conversations. It goes back and forth. So we take a look at the CERTIC assessment. Let me scroll down till we get to the issues. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Approach and methods. They talk about their approach, that's CERTIC. Then they have review notes. Okay. And all of these things. Now, findings. They have 9 findings. 7 of them are informational. Sometimes because you left out an HTML frame or something like that. Those are not important. Out of the 9, 2 are indeed important and related to centralization. So you'll see minting centralization risk acknowledged. And acknowledged isn't good enough, right? It's got to be fixed. The other one was centralization related to the risk of the default admin role. It was renounced. So since it's renounced, it's really no longer an issue. But these guys, CERTIC is tough. You'll see a lot of other guys, like let's say AKAS, not AKAS, ARE.AI. Yeah, you could pay them and get a good rate. I mean, a lot of the monitoring services, you can pay them to get some green check marks. So, okay, so here they tell you the description and what their recommendation is. Okay, they're saying that the role of minting has the authority to mint the tokens, right, to another contract. And if a hacker gains access to the private key, then we're screwed. So they said you need to be more secure. You need to make sure that the hackers don't, a hacker can't get access to your private keys, right? Because then they'll create a large number of tokens to their own address. And I'm going to address what some folks are saying. AKAS is minting all of these tokens and they're selling them. If anybody can prove that to me, then I'll believe and I'm out. I looked on the blockchain where they were using CD06. I know everything is going into the liquidity pool. I know what's going into the treasury. It's all on chain and no one can show me an external third-party address that's actually been given the minted tokens. All AKAS, all Olympus DAO type projects, they do minting. So minting isn't the issue. Now, are they minting it in the correct way? Are they minting it to put it in their pockets? There's no indication that's what AKAS is doing. Because I tell you, if they didn't mint anything, if they didn't do anything at all, you think the token being at $5 is unpalatable. You can't stand that one. But in any case, they did do buys. They did do sales. I saw about $1 million worth of buys when it first started going down and about $850,000 worth of sale. And I know exactly where all of that went. But after a while, if people continue to, the big money continue to extract and sell, then they don't continue, RBS doesn't continue to sit there and try to prevent the what do I call that, catching sharp knives from the sky, right? And so they told them about that and they made a recommendation, make sure that they restrict the access to the private key of the privileged account, blah, 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 blah. They gave them some short-term solutions and they gave them long-term solutions. Okay, but well, and then here comes AKAS, and they're saying, well, this is what we're doing. And that was at the beginning. They said the permissions will be waived 1 week after the full launch. And certainly come back says, wonderful, but, and it will reduce the risk, but it's not completely eliminate the risk. So they go back and forth on this because they're saying that means that during that first week, the team still needs to utilize the mint function, right, to perform initial token distribution, which they did. So I'm not going to go too deep in this, but if you guys are interested, go there to the cold audit history and read the audit report and you'll see what AKAS says and you'll see what CERTIC says, and they're still going back and forth. And I hear they're making headway that's going to be better. And I think that with the proposal about the RBS, okay, and one of the things that they did say, AKAS said, we're still working on things. We're not going to 100% close things down, because we're live now and things are going to have to change. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do that. And then CertiK says, okay, wake me when you're done. So that's where we are right now. Okay. But nonetheless, no, they are not stealing anything. So that's for those people who are acting crazy with no proof. So here we go in the chat. Okay. Let me go here. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Who owns the private keys? Who owns the private keys? The contract owns the private keys, but they were renounced at the top level. Let me talk about that. Okay. Here's something. I went to Chat GPT so it can better explain it because mine would have been discombobulated. Okay, let me go. When we say that the keys have been renounced to a contract, and I want you guys to think about this globally, it does not mean none of the code can ever change. If you look at all of the big DeFi projects out there, AABI, the most popular, the largest, the most lucrative collateralized lending and borrowing platform on this planet. Look at MakerDAO, been around for a long time. That's the DAI token. It's actually from MakerDAO protocol. Okay. They've got, I don't know, thousands of freaking contracts within MakerDAO, lots of them. If you look at a lot of the major, even Olympus DAO, look at Olympus DAO. You look at a lot of the major contracts, they make changes. And so what you have to do is don't just assume, and I tell people that they can't make changes. If they couldn't make changes, then why have a DAO to vote on changes? Pay attention. If you can't make changes, why have a DAO to vote on changes? And if we can't change anything ever, then it's going to be static and stuck wherever it is in history forever. So, but it's a way that the changes can be made. You can add additional contracts, right? Which is what they've done with this new RBS piece, right? And CertiK knows this. Many people know this. And so open source and keys renounced doesn't really mean you can't change the software. It can still happen. And particularly if the system was designed to let governance change it. Follow me? So we're governance, we're the DAO, and they have time locks and things of the sort. For example, they'll say that if we have 5,000 AS who have voted on this particular proposal, then we cut it off. Governance says yes, or governance says no. DAO says yes, DAO says no. So they got time locks built in for the changes. So it's not like George can just go in and say, let's make a change right now, right? No, that's not how it works. So the governance can still change things. And I'm not going to start talking right now. It's getting a little late, but I talked to you guys already about proxy contracts versus open source. And again, I will stick to my guns on this one. If the liquidity is not locked, if a whole bunch of boys and girls at the beginning have a lot of tokens and their mama and their daddy, their teams, their leaders, that's a no and that's a no. That's the back door and the front door. And if the keys were renounced to a proxy contract, then my answer is no. Okay? Because at least have your main core contracts, keys renounced, your main core. But then you can have additional ones. You can have additional ones, okay? So I want you guys to keep that in mind. Otherwise, I mean, it wouldn't make sense that we could never change the code when upgrades are needed. PancakeSwap has made over 100 changes over the years. Have PancakeSwap, taken everybody's money and ran? No, because that's not how it works. They have their own governance as well. And sometimes technology change. PancakeSwap needed to change for the new protocols, cryptocurrency protocols that are out there in the market, right? Okay, so there are many reasons to change it, but they got to have the controls in place so no individual wallet can make the changes, and that is key. Okay, so with that said, let me see if I missed anything else, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to open it up Yeah, I'm gonna open it up for additional questions and comments, except for the AKAS DAO dude. Already showed that. I showed that. I think I've covered everything. Let me go back here to AKAS. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. We look at the we're on a Polygon. Oh, we're RW token. Initial rules are selling is allowed, buying is disabled, only earn it from having a 180 or 360-day bond or staking effective October 1st. Sales slippage will be 15%. That 15% will be automatically burned. Can you imagine having 2 million tokens and 15% fee when you sell it? And that 15% of the 2.1 million tokens, right? 15% of what you have is going to be burned. That's going to lower the amount of tokens. So it looks like it's attractive. We'll see how it works. Okay. Okay. Now let's see what we have here. Let's see what we have here. We've got, oh, okay. This is the distribution. So out of the 2.1 million, they're going to put 14.3% in the LP liquidity pool. That's about 300,000 RWs. The ecosystem expansion fund, 600,000. That's about 28.6%. Airdrops and community for us, only going to be 500,000. You follow me? Just 500,000, guys. And that's 23.8%. Exchange listings and market making, always got to have market making. Another 500,000, that's 23.8%. And the team and the foundation, that's 200,000, 9.5%. One of the things I've asked, I want to see this in detail, particularly the team and foundation one. Who, what contract, where, what wallet. Okay, this is fine. The airdrops in the community, show me where that's being held, right? I want to see. Ecosystem expansion fund, let me see exactly what you're talking about, right? Are those contracts going to be locked? Can John, George, Judy, and she, can they get in there and do whatever they want to do and go on vacation, right? And the liquidity pool, that's easy to check. So those type of particulars, the specifics aren't here, okay? And so when they're ready, I figure it got to be around October 1st. When they're ready, we're going to do a deep dive, but I want them to provide us with all of this information. What's the liquidity pool contract, right? What's the address? What's this expansion fund? What's the address? What's the airdrop in the community? Where is it, right? All of this I want to see, okay? So that's where we are. I'm going to stop my share. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Okay. Sophia Torotich. I thought I was speaking English, but I'm sorry. Which part do you want me to clarify for you, please? I know you just got here. No, you were here earlier, Sophia. What would you like me to say? What questions do you have, Sophia? Ask me some questions that are on your mind, and I'll address them, because I don't know which part you're talking about. And I think it's
Hi,
important.
Queen, can I speak?
Okay, well, hold on. When do we expect AKAS to grow? I'm not answering that one right now, because that means you didn't hear anything that I talked about. What do you mean by grow? If you tell me what you mean by grow, tell me what you mean. Be specific. Don't be shy. You know, do you mean grow globally around the world, or grow like a tree, or I don't know. But yes, you can speak now, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Ian.
Okay. The new supply is coming from an extra contract that is being added to the protocol, right?
No, RW is a new token. It's not adding additional supply to AKAS. That's RW token.
And how is it related to AKAS token?
Did you just come on?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just came on 10 minutes ago.
I've recorded this and I'll provide you with a recording. I just talked about the distribution and the allocation and how it has the potential for having a positive impact on the infrastructure for AKAS. And I can't go over it again right now. Okay, bear with me. Let me render this video I'll put it in my group and make sure that you get access to it. And then you can go to the end and you'll get the information. Anyone else? Thank you, Ian. Is that okay?
Yeah, but just to understand that the RW token is basically boosting AKAS token in a nutshell, right?
Say that again.
The new token is going to boost the current AKAS token. Is that the short end
It
of
has
it?
the potential. We don't know what anything is going to do. It has the potential. You know, because it's going to have some type of
Okay.
utility. They're going to bring their communities. I talked about that potentially. So we will never know anything until it happens. Okay. So October 1st, it's when they're going to start distribution of the tokens, but you got to have 180 or 360 day AKAS bonds or stakes. And if you have that, then you're eligible for the RW token drop because you can't buy it on the market. You can only get it from AKAS and through the strategic partnership. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll see. But that's just one of many things we've talked about. One of many things. We talked about governance. We talked about all of the proposals. And yeah, but this video will indeed be available. Yes, Henry. You can speak. You don't have to raise your hand.
Great question. You keep mentioning October 1st that this thing started with RW. What are the implications that we're getting in later than the initial start in any way? Does that mean the price will increase? Will we have to get less benefit, or what's the implications that we're already well past the start date?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Did I say October 1st? What's today?
Yeah, you kept saying October 1st.
I kept saying October 1st. Is Joseph here? Is he here? I think what he was telling me, if you purchased after October 1st, but I haven't received any airdrop. Let me clarify that for you, okay? And I'll get back with the team.
Please. Thank you.
Yeah,
You
all
understand
right.
the
Oh my God, it's almost Christmas.
Well,
Yeah,
with you, it is Christmas. I mean, with all the great information, it's Christmas every day.
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm definitely going to bring that one up. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So nobody wants to raise their hand. There are no more questions, or there are
So
two. Yes.
you're going to clarify the dates and what they mean in terms of participation and how we participate, correct?
Who's speaking? Oh, Henry, say that again.
Yeah, you're going to clarify what these dates means, whether it's October 1st or some other date in
Yeah.
terms of participating and what that'll imply later on. Then.
I think I know, but let me be sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because I think that what they're going to do, they're going to backdate it if you purchase from October 1st to going forward. But I'll clarify that. I'll make sure. Okay, I'll make sure. Okay, definitely. I'll ask that question as soon as I get off this call. Let's see here. So it looks like we are done. Thank you very much, Ian. It is a bucket full of information, but this recording will be available and people can fast forward through it or what have you. And, play around in your back office and also keep in contact and come to the webinars. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much for being here. That's Lucy, one of my top leaders from from Kenya. Be hanging out. We're hanging out all the time. Okay, guys. So I will talk to you guys later. And I'm glad you guys showed up and there'll be more to come. Okay, super. Thank you, Greg Jones. I tried to get everything in it, but you got a good amount of information if you were here for the last 45 minutes. Okay, bye, guys.